Hook on March 31, 1922. A family of 5 was slaughtered on a remote German farm. But the killer had been living with them for days. Hook end. The Hinterkaifeck murders are one of the most disturbing unsolved cases in German history. They took place on a small farmstead in Bavaria, near the town of Ingolstadt. The victims were the Gruber family, Andreas Gruber, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, and her 2 children, Cecilia and Josef, and the family maid, Maria Baumgartner, who had only arrived that day. Pattern interrupt. The farm was isolated, surrounded by dense forest. The nearest neighbour was over a kilometre away. In the winter of 1922, snow had buried the roads. The family was cut off from the world. But something was already wrong. Days before the murders, Andreas Gruber told his neighbours he had found footprints in the snow leading from the forest to the house. Footprints that went in, but none that came out. Cliffhanger. He also heard footsteps in the attic, at night, and he found a newspaper from Munich in the barn, a newspaper no one in the family had bought. Let's rewind. Hinterkaifeck was a modest farm. The Grubers were hard-working but not wealthy. They kept cows, pigs and chickens. They grew potatoes and grain. Life was quiet, routine. Until the signs started. Pattern interrupt. The first sign came in early March. Andreas found those footprints in the snow. He followed them to the edge of the forest. They stopped. No person, no animal, just nothing. Then the noises started. Scratching at the door, footsteps in the attic, the sound of furniture being dragged across the floor above their heads. Andreas checked the attic. Nothing. No one was there. Cliffhanger. But the noises continued. Every night. The family began sleeping in the same room, together, locked doors. But the sounds never stopped. Victoria's children were terrified. They said they saw a man in the barn, a dark figure who watched them from the shadows. Andreas dismissed it. Imagination. But the family dog wouldn't stop barking. At nothing. All night. Pattern interrupt. Then the key went missing. The key to the main entrance. Andreas searched everywhere. It was gone, so he nailed the door shut. That night, the footsteps in the attic were louder, more deliberate. A neighbour visited on March 30th. He brought supplies. He later told police that Andreas looked exhausted. Pale. He said he hadn't slept in days. He asked the neighbour to stay. But the neighbour had to leave. He promised to return the next day. He didn't. Cliffhanger. On the morning of April 1st, another neighbour stopped by. He saw the snow around the farmhouse was undisturbed. No smoke from the chimney, no signs of life. He knocked. No answer. The door was still nailed shut. He found a window unlocked. He climbed inside. The smell hit him first. Metallic. Sweet. Then he saw the bodies. Andreas Gruber was in the barn. He had been killed with a mattock, a farm tool used for breaking ground. His skull was crushed. Blood had pooled in the straw. His body was covered in hay, as if someone had tried to hide him. Pattern interrupt. Inside the house, the scene was worse. Cecilia Gruber was in the kitchen. She had been beaten to death. Her face was unrecognizable. Victoria was in the bedroom. She had been killed with the same mattock. Her 2 children were found in their beds. They had been killed while they slept. The new maid, Maria Baumgartner, was in the washroom. She was still wearing her coat. She had arrived only hours before. She never even unpacked. Cliffhanger. But here's what made the case so disturbing. The killer had been in the house for days. The family's dinner plates were still on the table. 3 settings. For 4 adults. But there were 5 victims. A pot of soup was still warm on the stove. It had been eaten recently. Someone had been fed. Maybe the killer. Pattern interrupt. The mattock was found next to Victoria's body. It had been cleaned, washed, put back in its place in the shed. The killer had been methodical, calm. He had taken his time. He also took the time to eat, to drink. to sleep. The beds in the attic were used. The sheets were rumpled. Someone had been living there for days. Cliffhanger. But what about the footsteps? The noises? The missing key? The police found a set of footprints leading from the house to the forest. But they were old. Days old. No fresh tracks. The killer might still have been in the house when the bodies were discovered. The case went cold. No suspects. No motive. But the rumours persisted. Some said Victoria had a secret lover, a man who might have been the father of her younger child. Some said the family had been targeted by a vengeful neighbour. Others said the killer was a drifter who had been hiding in the attic for weeks. Pattern interrupt. The most disturbing theory? That the killer was one of the victims, that the murders were a family dispute gone wrong. But how? The bodies showed no signs of struggle, no defensive wounds. They were killed one by one, in different parts of the house, and the killer had cleaned the weapon. Decades passed. The farm was demolished. The land was ploughed over. But the mystery never died. In 2007, the case was reopened. DNA testing was done on the victim's clothing. A hair was found that didn't match any of the victims. It belonged to a man who was not in any police database. Cliffhanger. The hair was tested again in 2019. New technology. The results were inconclusive. The killer's identity remains unknown. But here's the question that keeps people up at night. The killer lived in that house for days. He ate their food. He slept in their beds. He watched them. He waited. Why? Why didn't he kill them sooner? Why did he wait until March 31st? What happened that day that made him act? Pattern interrupt. And what about the footprints in the snow? The ones that went in but never came out? If the killer came from the forest, he must have left the same way, but no tracks were found. No evidence of a departure. Did he stay in the house after the murders? Did he watch the neighbour discover the bodies? Did he walk out the front door while the police were inside? Cliffhanger. The last known person to see the family alive was the mailman. He delivered a package on March 31st. He said the family seemed normal, happy. He saw no signs of distress. But he also noticed a man in the barn. A man he didn't recognise. He didn't think anything of it. He left. Hours later, the family was dead. The Hinterkaifeck murders remain unsolved. The files are still open. The case is still investigated. But the truth may never be known. Pattern interrupt. What happened in that farmhouse? Who was the man in the attic? And why did he wait? These questions have haunted Germany for a century, and they will continue to haunt anyone who hears this story. Because sometimes the most terrifying thing is not knowing, not understanding, not being able to explain the inexplicable. Cliffhanger. The Hinterkaifeck murders are a reminder that evil can exist in the most quiet places, that monsters don't always hide in shadows. Sometimes they live in your attic, eat your food, and wait for the perfect moment to strike, and we still don't know who they are. Pattern interrupt. Thanks for watching. If you found this story disturbing, you're not alone. The Hinterkaifeck case has terrified people for generations, and it will continue to terrify us until the truth is finally uncovered. If you want more stories like this, check out the video on the left, and don't forget to subscribe, because the next case might be even darker.